I'm honored to receive this, the endorsement Ed Gillespie. He's a proven leader here in Northern Virginia, and with what for Northern Virginians care about with jobs and economy and transportation, education, it's a role that I want to be an active leader here in Northern Virginia by representing Northern Virginia down in Richmond.
How do you win this seat? Because this is basically looked upon, I think when I looked at it, the Senate district is D+6, D+7. It's a pretty much of a Democratic seat. How do you turn the tide there, Joe?
It is, when you look at some of the statewide races, John, when the entire district of Fairfax County comes out, it is very challenging at a statewide level, or when there's a governor race for Republicans to win the whole county. That said, on an off year where there's no federal races or statewide races, this district is definitely in play. In fact, in 2011, the former GOP nominee, he came up only 2,500 votes, John, short out of 39,000 total cast, and that's 53% for the current incumbent. Uniquely, this district has 46 precincts, and 6 of those precincts are in the western end of Alexandria City, typically where Democrats rack up their points in the 70 to 72% area. It's unique because I am strong in those areas where I should be weak. My wife and I have been residents of those 6 precincts for over 10 and 11 years. We've been very active in PTA, local civic associations. Our daughter goes to public school. We know a lot of Democrats and independents and just pragmatic Northern Virginia voters where we have been we've been good citizens here, and we plan to aggressively campaign here, unlike previous nominees. We know that if we can achieve, not even do excellent, but if we can achieve 35 to 40% of the vote in those 6 precincts while holding Fairfax and the Prince William part of the district, we're going to be the Northern Virginia senator as a GOP member in the General Assembly.
This is the John Fredericks Radio Network across Virginia. We're with Republican State Senate candidate Joe Murray. He's running in Senate District 39. He's a Republican nominee. He's running against incumbent Democrat George Barker, and that race will be decided in November. And Joe is saying this could be the upset of the night. The reality of this, Joe, is when people look at anything in Northern Virginia and you're a Republican, it's just written off. You figure, well, you just can't win, right? I mean, it's gone so blue. You look at a race like this and you say, okay, what else is out there?
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you that is typically the truth, and I believe, a lot of Republican candidates they look at this and say, throw their hands in the air. That's not the case here. And in fact, in 2009, I was a candidate for a special election in January for the House of Delegates, shortly after Barack Obama won his first election as president. And like I said, in this area, there was a special election because Brian Moran, the former House of Delegate member for here up in this area, decided to run for governor. And in January 2009, out of 2,700 votes cast, it came within 16 votes short of winning a seat. We ran an aggressive campaign, a very pragmatic door-to-door campaign in these districts, and came within less than 1% of winning. And that is the case where, similar to this election, it's an off year, it's grassroots, it's about relationships. Turnout is going to be extremely low, and we're excited. We're excited to talk with our neighbors about, for the first time in over 20 years, having a Republican senator representing the west end of Alexandria and the southern part of Fairfax and the northern part of Prince William counties. It's doable. We just need to be talking to voters about the issues that Northern Virginia voters care about.
Now, Joe, you raised nearly $50,000 in the last reporting period, outraising George Barker, who's the incumbent, basically 5.5, 6 to 1. Is that an indication that you've got a serious challenge here on the sticks?
Absolutely. We're working hard. Folks are excited about the prospect of a pragmatic young newcomer to represent this district as an active leader. We've just been telling folks that there's a chance for a Republican senator in Northern Virginia, which the General Assembly in Northern Virginia desperately need, and folks are responding. I mean, they've seen in the 7th year of Barack Obama's presidency and Democrat control up here of policies that we need someone as an active leader to be representing Northern Virginia, and this is a great shot. And folks are opening up their their checkbooks and supporting me. While Senator Barker, we outraised him, like you said, 5-1. He, obviously is going to have a challenge on his hands with me.
Well, he's definitely taking or had been taking your candidates. He is a Republican. He is challenging incumbent George Barker. That is part of Alexandria, Fairfax, and Prince William counties, and this will be decided in November. Now, obviously, if Joe were to win this seat, it would be the biggest upset of the night, no question, a Northern Virginia seat. George Barker, many think that he's basically, you can't beat him, but looks like Joe's outraised him, and he's going to possibly give Barker the fight of his life over the summer and going into the fall. Joe, let's get to some of your key issues. Let's start with if you were a state senator and we get into 2016 and the Burwell versus King decision comes down, this is critical. Because if that decision comes down and it comes down that says if you don't have a state exchange, you can't get an Obama subsidy. I mean, there's a couple 100,000 people in Virginia right now that have Obamacare health insurance, and it is either 100% subsidized or 80% subsidized, somewhere in there, but the majority of it is free. That would go away, in a day.
Absolutely.
So if you were state senator, how would you handle that?
Well, it's a very important question. I'm glad you brought it up. It's not clear what if the court applies the law as it should, they should rule, in my opinion, that those subsidies were not authorized at all for states such as Virginia that didn't establish a state-based exchange. Now, that said, there would be a couple 100,000 people hurt. There's no way that I would advocate for anything other than making sure those Virginians are not hurt because of the law of an incorrect application and an illegal application by Obama's, federal health care department. So it's a federal problem that was incorrectly applied. It's Congress's problem to fix it. And as a state senator, I would ensure that any of those folks who are receiving subsidies to make health insurance affordable, which is the whole point of Obamacare, would not be hurt. Now, it is a federal issue. We would have to work with Congress and President Obama to ensure that the federal law is changed. That said, I would not advocate at all for the General Assembly to establish a state-based exchange. We'd work with our federal leaders in Congress and the President and the Governor to ensure nobody is hurt because of nothing to do with their fault. They were just following the law and applying for insurance as the federal mandate requires.
So, Joe Murray, you would be in favor of some, let's call it, bridge legislation that continued to provide the subsidized insurance, even though Virginia didn't have a state exchange, if the King-Burwell decision comes out that way. Is that my understanding?
Well, I would be in favor of making sure that the hundreds of thousands of Virginians are not hurt economically because of their applying the law and them being due citizens and getting insurance because of the federal law.
Define not being hurt. I mean, either they're going to get the subsidy or not.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely be in favor of ensuring that they're not getting hurt financially. And what that means is, sure, that their subsidy would need to continue for a short period. And essentially, that is a federal problem, though, that is hurting Virginia citizens. So I would make sure that I work with our local congressmen and senators and the president to ensure that they're not in a worse financial position as a result of following the law.
All right, so you would be in favor of kind of the Orrin Hatch plan or something like that, where feds step in and provide and continue to provide the subsidies until Virginia figures it out, or they figure the whole thing out. Because, look, we're not going to be the only state in this situation. Obviously, there's many states.
There's millions.
And, here's the reality, Joe. I was not in favor of Obamacare. You were not in favor of Obamacare, et cetera. We're not in favor of Medicaid expansion, et cetera. But it's not impossible. It's very hard to take an entitlement away once somebody has it. So
I totally support that in terms of this is a federal law that's providing federal subsidies for federally subsidized insurance that every citizen is required by law with certain exceptions to purchase. If that is taken away in terms of financially hurting people, there's no way that I'm going to support anything other than making sure that Virginia citizens are protected. And the matter is it needs to be dealt with at a federal level because it's a federal law.
Right, Joe, that makes sense. We're with Joe Murray. We're out of time. Hey, if you want more information, go to Murray for Virginia, F-O-R, murrayforvirginia.com, murrayforvirginia.com. He's trying to pull the upset of the night in November and knock off incumbent Democrat George Barker. If that happens, I can absolutely guarantee you Republicans are going to have a bigger majority in the state Senate going into 2016 General Assembly. Hey, Joe, thanks for being with us, man.